All I feel like I can do is laugh right now. Is just laugh. Because once again, another day, another dollar, another anemic offense by the New York Metropolitans ends in the most controversial fashion imaginable, the most Metsian fashion imaginable. The Mets had no life with their offense whatsoever all game long. Why? Because Shota Imanaga, the man the Mets should have signed this offseason that I was clamoring for all offseason long, absolutely carves up the Mets in 7 innings. Shutty, 7 Ks. How you doing, Sayonara? You're out of here. Once he's out of the game, they finally get some work on Leiter. 2 on, less than 2 out. They can't convert there. You enter the 9th. Runners on 2nd and 3rd. 1 out. Jeff McNeil with a fly out to left. And Pete Alonso is somehow out at home. They review. They still call him out at home. There is no blocking that they call with the catcher Maya. And they do still call Alonso out there on that play. Beyond frustrating. Carlos Mendoza has every right in the world to be absolutely fuming in a game once again where the Mets had no offense whatsoever, nothing to show. They get screwed over in the most Metsian way, and truly the most Metsian way possible, and a very controversial inning, a very frustrating inning. And yes, you should have absolutely not put yourself in that position prior by doing the simple task of, oh, I don't know, actually swinging the bat properly, actually barreling some baseballs. You know, I'm beyond frustrated. The past week plus of baseball for the Mets has been one swing being the major difference in a ball game. One swing today, a 1-0 anemic loss, everybody. I was going to be ranting tonight regardless of this Pete Alonso call because of how much of a shit show this offense has been again. But now you throw in the mix, you add a wrench, which is this blown call, this ridiculous call at home plate to end the game. Miss me with that nonsense. I do not care to anyone that bothers coming in right now to tell me that, oh no, Wardy, that was the right call, this was that. I'm not here to hear that right now. All I'm here is to voice my initial reaction, break down the game inning by inning, as we always do here on the channel, and to see you guys in the chat and see how you're feeling. What is your frustration level after a loss like this, everybody? Mets fans, how you doing? It's your boy Wardy, and we're back at it with our latest post-game segment. I know that was pretty much a 3-minute intro on my front because I got a lot to say. And a 1-0 loss where usually this is a quick 15-20 minute discussion, I answer some questions, I'm out of here. Not the case tonight. Cubs own you, but buddy, I don't give a fuck that the Cubs own me. It's not about that. I have far more concerns when it comes to this Mets team than the Cubs doing well against the Mets. The Cubs have a fantastic young rotation that's thriving right now, and the Mets can't hit a lick. It doesn't matter. You throw any competent starter out there, they're going to go at least 6 shutty against this Mets team. The Mets, again, for the how manyth example time this season, we saw yet again tonight an offense that had nothing to show for it against a competent starter, let alone a starter that has been fantastic all so far this season, the way that Shota Imanaga has. So, folks, we're going to break down the game inning by inning, but please make sure to smash that like and subscribe button if this is your first time watching, or if you're a reoccurring viewer and you want to hear your voice heard, as we're going to be answering plenty of questions, comments, and concerns. Again, thank you all so much for being in here. Crimey River, thank you so much for the buddy, bro. But give me the money. I'll take it any day of the week. This is the thing I love most. Whenever we have opposing fans come in here, I'm all for shit talking. Let's do it every day of the week, buddy. But here's the thing. I will continue to cry out. That's fine. You're still going to watch. You're still here. So I appreciate the view. Thank you so much. Of course we're going to complain after a loss like this. We were beyond frustrated with this anemic offense once again tonight, and then you throw in this kind of call. Everyone and their mother has every justified reason to be bothered by this. Not only did this stand in the middle of the base, he shoved his groin down on top of his hand when he was sliding. Ridiculous. Yes, and of course, there's no overturn. God forbid! And Carlos Mendoza, again, had every right to go out of his way to try to counter this with the umps, but of course their hands are tied. We heard it on call herself, take that up with the office. This is out of my jurisdiction, basically. I don't have control of the replay room. And while that is true, it doesn't change the fact that every Mets fan, every player in that locker room, everyone a part of the organization has every right to be bothered by what has transpired that we saw tonight. Let's see here. Thank you so much for the donation. Yoshima with the $5 holla. Yoshima says, seething right now. Guarantee Nito Narvaez gets called for blocking if it was flipped. No call ever goes our way. A call like that certainly doesn't. wasn't. And the worst part is that we all universally thought we were going to be getting this call. At minimum, this should be a tied ball game in the ninth. And hey, the Mets don't score again in the ninth. If say they lose in extras, all right, then we can talk about that then, even if they were to lose the ball game. But to rob us of that possibility to at least tie up this ball game in the ninth is the most frustrating thing, and far and away, in my opinion, the most frustrating takeaway out of this entire thing. And yes, I agree. I don't love Pete Alonso head first sliding. That's something that I know Keith certainly hates as well. The GOAT Keith Hernandez there on the GKR broadcast presented by SNY, of course. But even with that being the case, even with Alonso maybe doing the head first slide that we don't love to see, it doesn't change the fact that this was absolutely every single day of the week, including Sundays, a call that normally gets turned, a call that shouldn't have been the way it was to begin with, because it's also the fact that it's not controversial with whether his hand was up or not. It's not just that. It's the obvious with how Amaya placed himself to begin with in front of Pete Alonso there. That doesn't happen if Amaya isn't placed in that position. And again, I digress. I just want to see how you guys were talking about this one, folks. I know we're all frustrated about the call. My bigger frustration, everybody, in case you're wondering what my total frustration level is not as much the call as it is this shit show. And before I show you the shit show, part of the profanity, everybody, of course, we come at you with the most consistent coverage on all things Mets all season and off-season long. This is the reason why we're the largest platform on YouTube, not directly affiliated with the Mets or SNY, and it's thanks to all of you amazing Mets fans and followers. Thank you all so much for the support. Continue to smash those buttons. But folks, if you want to know what really grinds my gears, where the bigger frustration comes tonight, it is right here. Here's your answer, folks. This is your answer. You would think I'm Homer Simpson looking for donuts with the amount of O's out here. Look at this. 1 for 4 Taylor. Narvaez scratch. Wendell comes in because Francisco Lindor probably had, pardon my French, the shits or something like that. He has a 24-hour viral thing going on that's been going around the clubhouse. Hopefully Lindor will be okay and will be back in the lineup as soon as tomorrow. But he exits the game just after a couple innings. Wendell over, Alonso over that we saw there. JD Martinez with the opposite field double that I absolutely love. Love that man to death. Always have, always will. Jeff McNeil with a couple hits again today. Like that from Jeff. Nimmo over one that we saw there. Of course, he got on base. Did he get on base a couple times? He may have via walk. Brett Beatty with the single as well. DJ Stewart had himself a really nice at-bat that led to that walk ultimately, but the Mets had no answers whatsoever for Shota Imanaga. And I've talked a lot about Shota Imanaga. If you guys have been following on the channel, you know how much I like Shota Imanaga going back to the offseason when he was officially posted by the MPB. He was a name that the Mets initially scouted, along with Yoshinobu Yamamoto and others, and Imanaga is now off to a roaring MLB career start with just over a 0.7 ERA to kick off his season, including 7 shutty, 7 strikeouts against these same Metropolitans. Everyone first chiming in live on our replay. Happy to have you all in here. We're breaking down the latest in Mets land. A very controversial ending to yet another putrid, anemic Mets loss thanks to their anemic offense. And on a day where you got pitching, you had support. You had Mr. Jose Buto going 6 innings of 4 hit, 1 earned run ball, 2 walks and 6 Ks, a 2.57 ERA on the season for Mr. Jose Buto. You had Jorge Lopez in there getting the job done. Jake Diekman, Adam Ottavino, Sean Reed-Foley step right up. One of, if not the best bullpen in Major League Baseball right now, where the Mets, again, have one of literally the best. They have the best in the National League, one of the top ones in all Major League Baseball. That was exemplified yet again today. You allow 1 measly run, and yet these pitchers have 0 room, 0 margin for error because of how putrid and how anemic this offense continues to be. I don't care. That's the beginning of May. I do not care that we're a month into the season. Every game matters. And for a Mets team that we know is going to be up and down plenty this season, we know that they're going to have things far more difficult on their schedule. These are games you absolutely need to be having better at-bats with. You absolutely need to be in the ball game more than what you were. And yes, that is why the way this game ended hurts that much more, because of how desperate the Mets were for offense. And we know that they have been these late rally guys for how many weeks now. Once you get to the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, I'm confident in the Mets' abilities to get on base. But what I'm currently not confident in is their ability to actually overcome said obstacles and win games consistently. That 12-3 run was fantastic, but it was short-lived, and now we're just trying to stay afloat as a 500 ball club again throughout the first 30 games of the season. That's where we find ourselves, everybody. I do have more on the pitching that I will share with you all, thanks to our awesome pitching report that comes out every single game from my man that you guys, of course, can check out, Mr. Isaac Groffman, there on Twitter. But before I get to that, shout out to my amazing sponsors at BetUS, who has you covered with all your sports betting needs. Make sure to check them out by clicking the link down below today. That way you too get 125% bonus with not your first, not your second, but your first 3 deposits. And in our pregame segments that we do multiple times every single week on the channel, yesterday's pregame show, I did a 4-pick parlay with you all, and we went 4 for 4 on the parlay. So I really hope you guys and gals tailed for my fellow sports bettors that know how to bet responsibly. Of course, our 4-pick parlay yesterday was as follows. It was the Phillies money line. Phillies won outright. It was the Brewers money line. The Brewers won outright and had a nice fight in there too with Uribe and Jose Siri that we saw. That was a wild one with the benches clearing yesterday. We also had at least 2 other picks. I want to make sure I don't blank on what those are here. The other picks were the Orioles run line. They won 4-2 yesterday over the Yankees, and the Twins money line. They won a tight one, 6-5 against the White Sox. So again, I'm no betting expert by any stretch, but we had some luck yesterday. So if anyone did tail the 4-pick parlay or even pick 2 out of the 4 picks, congratulations. I hope you guys got some nice winnings. Also, shout out to our other amazing sponsor at Sower MLB that we're going to get into a little bit later in the show. But before we do, I want to break down more about the ball game here and share my further frustration and get through the innings 1 through 9. Apologies for the intro running there for a hot second. You got the highlights. There were not many highlights tonight, unfortunately, everybody. And the simple reason was the Mets offense, the Chicago Cubs offense, not much to provide. The Cubs' lone run today was because of a sacrifice play. That's literally the only run that they scored today, folks. It wasn't from a home run. It wasn't from an RBI single. No, it was just a sacrifice, and that was the only run scored in this ballgame. The Mets had runners at second and third with 1 out, with 1 measly out there in the 9th inning, and they could not convert because of the most controversial call that you will find, of course, this week. Wardy is a chronic gambler with my amazing sponsor at BetUS, absolutely, but what I am not is an irresponsible gambler. Those are 2 different things. I'm not throwing hundreds of dollars on every parlay I play, making sure I'm keeping things afloat and having things the way that I want them to be. What did Martino say? I had no clue. I have no clue. Has a post of I have no clue what happened there regarding Martino, everybody. But I do have some key updates to share with you all briefly before we break down more on the ball game. As we know, Zach Short, the infielder that started the year on the Mets roster, has been traded for cash considerations today to a Boston Red Sox team that is in desperate need of help with all the injuries that they have. They've also signed Dominic Smith to a major league contract today as well after he was released by the Tampa Bay Rays. We also see there again, we see a start there for Tyler McGill is going to be starting there in Double-A tomorrow. I apologize on the graphic if that doesn't look as clear as it should there. Let's see right there. Yeah, it should say McGill. It just says Gill. So I apologize on that one. We're also halfway to 100 likes. Thank you all so much for that. Continue to smash that like and subscribe on as you first chime in the latest in Mets land as we're breaking down a very controversial and very frustrating Mets loss. Tyler McGill gets his second rehab start tomorrow going. And then we saw again Francisco Lindor exit tonight's game after a couple innings because of the 24-hour virus that's going on around the Mets and across baseball as a whole at the moment. So hopefully Lindor's fine after a day or two. But again, guys, my frustration stems from the following. This is yet another game. And I know I'm getting you to crack up, Rose. How you doing? How's it going, Jacob? Everyone chiming in live on a replay. All my awesome members, reoccurring viewers, happy to have you guys in here. And I know, again, I'm tomato-faced. I know I'm getting worked up over a May 1st game, but hear me out, everybody. This has been consistent Mets baseball that they have played for a week plus now, where one swing has been the heavy dictator in a game. Let's keep it a buck, everybody. The Mets weren't blessed with a bullpen matchup against the San Francisco Giants to salvage that series and win 10-0. To them, the Cardinals, if it wasn't for Mark Vientos' heroics and extra innings when they had Liberatone out there too long to pitch, the Mets are on a significant losing streak here. The Mets are now 3-7 over their past 10 games. Prior to that, they were on a 12-3 run. So things have certainly not went in the Mets' right direction right now. But the bigger frustration I have is when you have a rotation that struggled mightily to go deep into games, and of course the walk rates have been through the roof. The Mets were leading all Major League Baseball entering tonight's game with a walks per nine among pitchers as a whole at 4.3. Just disgusting numbers, things they need to be better at. And while the Mets are now getting pitching for a 3rd consecutive night in a row, you had Jose Quintana going 8 beautiful innings. You had then Luis Severino going 8 beautiful innings where you had nothing to show for it. And now you have yourself here a 6-inning masterclass best outing by Jose Buto, and nothing to show for it because this offense, again, against any type of solid starter, is going to lead to their demise right away. It's 100% what happens every single day of the week, and it is beyond frustrating. So now let's get into more about the ballgame, everybody. We're going to break down innings 1 through 9 as follows here. And it starts there in the first. Horner with a double. Then we see Talkman with a walk. Happ with a strikeout. That's all she wrote there for Jose Buto in the first. And the second, Amaya with a walk. That's all she wrote, however. Then in the bottom of the second, JD Martinez with a walk. Jeff McNeil then with a single. The Mets cannot convert there. 2 on, less than 2 out. That's all that shows. In the third, Jose Buto with his first 1-2-3 inning of the day. Buto looked much better today than what we saw the last time he was out there. They gave up 4 earned runs and right around 5 innings or so. Not a great start for Buto, but he bounced back beautifully today against a Cubs team that too has been struggling. And you know what, guys? I'm going to say something that maybe is going to bother some of you. Others, I think, are going to agree plenty. I think Citi Field's part of the problem. I felt this way for many years. We know Citi Field is very much more of a pitcher's park than a hitter's park. When the Mets have had some awesome runs that we've seen in recent years, that has been in hand with them having strong road trips and then pairing that with home. Let's be realistic for a second, especially earlier in the season, the first couple months of the year. How many amazing Mets games have we seen at Citi Field where they played awesome, comfortable baseball at home? Not a lot, if I'm being frank. It goes in hand with the weather. Again, of course, when the weather fluctuates as much as it does there in Queens this early in the season, that plays a massive factor. But more than anything, it's just the ballpark. There are things about it where I love Citi Field as a whole. It's my favorite ballpark in baseball, biasly, of course. But I do have major gripes with how this Mets offense approaches things in this park. And this has been notorious. This has went on for years. And I think, again, we have a greater problem on our hands between, again, the inconsistent weather earlier in the year on the East Coast and, again, just playing in the ballpark that is not beneficial for hitters. It is very much a pitcher's park, that we know. And while it isn't the worst park in baseball by any stretch for hitters, it is certainly less than ideal, especially for a Mets offense that is so Jekyll and Hyde and so anemic the way that it has been for quite a bit now. But again, appreciate everyone chiming in, folks. Let's break down more in this ball game. As we get to the bottom of the third with 2 outs, we see there Tyrone Taylor with an infield single and then a stolen bag. The Mets, of course, could not convert there because how could they convert with runners in scoring position? Don't be silly. We then get on to the top of the fourth. Buto with his second 1-2-3 inning of the day. Beautifully done there for Buto. In the top of the fifth, then Mervis with a double. He then gets to third base on a wild pitch, unfortunately. And Pete Crow Armstrong, the Mets' former first-round draft pick a couple years ago, drives in the lone run of the day with an RBI sac fly. Horner would go on to single afterwards, but nothing to show for it. In the top of the sixth, then, we see Ian Happ with an infield single. Morel with a double play. And that was a huge double play turn started by Brett Beatty. And that does it there in the sixth, going in hand again with Jose Buto's final line of 6 innings of 1 earned run ball, 2 walks, a pair, at least 5 strikeouts. He looks strong. Cold take, thank you so much for the donation. We'll get to that shortly. Am I not mad at Pete for literally not touching the plate? Pete did touch the plate. Pete did touch the plate. It was a hard angle to see. Did he touch it in time? I'm not entirely sure. But it did look like he did. He, of course, touched the plate there. But where you had the problem was Amaya was literally on top of him there, and he just squeaked his hand in. And naturally, when you're diving hard, your arm is going to bounce off the ground slightly, and it did with his hand. But my bigger gripe is more so with Amaya blocking the plate initially, which clearly looked that way. I have major gripes with how this game was ended with the call that we heard over the booth there, of course, when they're doing the replay and stuff. But my frustration stems even more with the lack of offense the Mets had throughout this entire game. You shouldn't be in a position where you're dying to score 1 measly run in the 9th to tie a ball game. You should have been up by a couple runs in this ball game. But again, I digress, because when it comes to this Mets offense, it is far from consistent, to say the least. As we break down further in this ballgame, however, we then get on to the 7th inning as Jorge Lopez comes in and has himself another fine outing. Swanson with a single, then with 2 outs, Jake Diekman comes in, and Pete Crow Armstrong strikes out beautifully to end the inning. And in the 8th, then Adam Ottavino, who has now not allowed a hit since, April 4th. Adam Ottavino, one of the best relievers in Major League Baseball, as has been the case with the majority of this Mets bullpen, was absolutely stellar again. He gives up a walk to Horner, and Horner then steals a bag with 2 outs, but that's all she wrote. A clean inning of work there for Adam Ottavino. Sean Reed-Foley, who has looked absolutely fantastic for the Mets out of their bullpen, works a 1-2-3-9, striking out the side, and then they're in the 9th against Hector Neris. Thus, Mets fans know very well during his time in Philly. A lot of controversy usually ensues with him because he's not easy to get that lockdown save. that we saw once again today as Neris again faced some trouble. With one out, Alonso's hit by the pitch that runs in on him. JD Martinez with the opposite field double that you guys have seen the highlights there. Pico Armstrong just misses the catch. He read it well, had a nice jump, but just closed the mitt a little before he was able to really get a grasp of said ball. That gets runners again at second and third base, and here we are now with all the controversy that we've been discussing. Jeff McNeil flies out to left field. Pete Alonso charges home. A beautiful relay throw. I'll give the Cubs credit there, but where I will not give credit is, again, the way that this game ended in as much controversy as it did. Changes need to be made, Dave. David has had enough already with the hitting, and honestly, I understand to a degree. I understand the frustration. Another thing that sucks, too, is that we're now 0-3 in the City Connects. So these are unintentionally now bad juju for the Mets. The City Connects are not getting the job done, folks. They unfortunately are not doing it. Hopefully that changes soon, but for the time being, it is not looking good in Mets land with the City Connects already 0-3 on the season, everybody. Where he looks like he blocked the play. I know, that's what we're all saying. This is why we're all frustrated, because there was controversy ensuing as much as there was behind this, everybody. But before we get on to talking about my amazing sponsors here at Sorare MLB, Sorare MLB is the best MLB fantasy game out there that you guys can check out today by clicking the link down below. But soon I'm going to break down for you all how you guys can have a chance to enter to win Mets tickets to any games you want to go to this season. There will be 4 giveaway winners, 3 of which will win multiple Mets tickets, 1 of which will win a $100 credit there that they can utilize in the Sorare MLB game to build their team and build their roster that I'll get into shortly. And the winners will be announced May 6th. So check it out by clicking the link down below to sign up today, but we'll expand more on Sorare here in a minute. Before I do that, I really want to emphasize again what we saw from the pitching front just a little bit today, because again, it was masterful. It was a true thing of beauty. And shout out as always to my great friend Isaac coming out with the pitching report, because there's a lot to break down here from tonight's pitching outing for the Mets. Because again, when you had nothing going offensively, and we're going to emphasize any highlights from tonight's loss, it's of course going to be the pitching. Again, Jose Buto's final line, as you see there, the 4-seam fastball was thrown 25% tonight, changeup 24%, sinker 23%, gyro slider 21%, and sweeper 6%. The sinker and the 4-seam were missing outside to start the game that we saw there, especially up and away, but as the game went on, it got better. Was eventually able to get the sinker in on righties especially. The gyro slider was that main pitch that we saw tonight. It was tight, and he was able to locate it accurately with the glove side. No whiffs on the sweeper that we saw, but there was a 50% whiff on the slider today, and he has a 63.2% whiff rate on that pitch this year overall, which is absolutely disgusting. One of the better ones in Major League Baseball. Changeup was also effective that we saw there with a 50% whiff rate. Overall, the hitters had a 70 Z contact percentage, meaning hitters made contact with 70% of his pitches today that were in the zone. That is higher than usual, but most were weak contact. So thankfully, he didn't give up any hard barrel balls today for the most part. And Mr. Jose Buto, he induced soft ground ball outs that we saw there when he was, giving up some contact, or of course, even some flyouts there. He didn't have his best control today, obviously, and he struggled with the control over the past couple starts, but this was overall a nice bounce back outing for Jose Buto, where I'm going to give him a grade personally. I'm going to have him there in the A- category. My man Isaac feels the same. And as we get on to the bullpen here briefly, a little bit more on Jorge Lopez. He was less sharp today with the velo, and the control was a little bit off, but again, he was still able to get the job done for the most part, aside from giving up that hit to Dansby Swanson. And Jake Diekman did his job getting PCA, was huge to end that inning, and that was absolutely befuddled by the sweeper. So nasty, lefty. Sayonara, you're out of here, PCA. Try again another day. And then my Adam Ottavino, of course, is leaning on that sweeper and the cutter, and he has not allowed a hit in the last 34 batters he's faced, and that's per Anthony DeComo, and of course, you guys can find that yourself. He is not allowed a hit in almost a complete month now, folks. We're going all the way back, as I mentioned earlier in the show, to April 4th of this season. And Sean Reed-Foley again looked fantastic. Again, he hit 97, and he was painting those corners beautifully with the fastball. He threw a couple changeups in there that we saw, which set up his fastball well, and even got the strikeout on one of those. SRF averages roughly 89 miles per hour on his changeup, which is very fast for a changeup, and again, he's having a good amount of success with it so far this year. So between the fastball 97, the changeup sitting high 80s, SRF is looking like another quality innings eater now for the Mets that David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza has brewing in that Mets bullpen. By show of hands, how many people had Sean Reed-Foley being this effective this early into the season for the Mets, for a guy that, again, dealt with ailments to begin the regular season? He, of course, dealt with ailments going back to spring training. But as I told you all, Sean Reed-Foley, Reed Garrett, enter these guys in the mix. They're getting quality outs for you. Reed Garrett quite literally has one of the best pitches in all Major League Baseball at the moment. It's not even fair the way that split is going at the moment. The sweeper's looking fantastic too when he has that on. But then you're getting, again, the type of production from Adam Ottavino, Jake Diekman, Jorge Lopez, and Sean Reed-Foley. Again, how many of you really thought Sean Reed-Foley was going to come out and be pitching this effective this early? And the best part is that Brooks Raley, who's expected to return to the Mets bullpen next week, the Mets haven't missed him. They really haven't missed him, knocking on wood to this point so far, while he's been out with the 15-day IL there with the elbow inflammation or so. That has not impacted the Mets pen by any stretch. And again, another example of why this Mets pen is going to be their stronghold for, in my opinion, the vast majority of the season. They have enough pieces. They have internal options in AAA. And David Stearns, this is his bread and butter. This is what he's most known for, everybody. Let's see. You own me, Wardy? Caleb, buddy, you're a Bears fan. Let's just start there, okay? Like, any Chicago Cubs fan in here that wants to talk shit, by all means, enjoy this World Series, beating up on a very Jekyll and Hyde and inconsistent Mets team. You want a cookie? I can give you a cookie, but that's all I can probably offer you. Nothing more than that, nothing less. But in all seriousness, when you look at the Mets and you look at this loss again tonight, folks, where we have the major gripes, and as I've been saying it all on, is this offense is killing me right now. It really is. And before we talk more about the offense and why there's such a heavy level of frustration with it at the moment, let's take a quick word to hear from our amazing sponsor on the channel, everybody, at SoRaMLB, because I really want to put you guys on how you guys can enter for your chance today to win Mets tickets to any games you want to go to this season. It is so easy. It is so simple. And again, for those that don't know SoRaMLB is the best fantasy baseball game out there. Don't get me wrong, it's fun to play fantasy MLB with your friends when you do the tournaments, all that kind of stuff, but there's nothing better, in my opinion, than having actual virtual cards that you can utilize the same way. If you know the game MLB The Show, right, when you're building your own team, you're building your own roster, you're being your own coach, you're being your own GM, all those same things apply here with SoRaMLB. You build your team with cards that vary, of course, in rarity, which vary in price as well. You, of course, get cards to start that are free, but you, of course, can upgrade your cards and upgrade your players by spending real dollars on the chain that they have available on their app, and of course by playing on the desktop. Again, you buy, sell, trade cards, you collect with your friends. It's so much fun. You enter weekly tournaments to play against people across the country, and depending on how, and across the world for that matter, and depending on how your team performs, which is based on how the players perform in real life over that 2, 3, or 4 day span of said tournaments, if you do well, then you will have a chance to win cash prizes, where winners are anointed cash prizes of hundreds plus dollars. You know, it depends on the rarity of the tournament that you enter, of course, along with different types of awesome prizes like Mets ticket giveaways that we're doing right now, everybody. So again, if you guys want a chance to win free Mets tickets to any game you want to go to this season, all you need to do to enter and to sign up today is by clicking the link down below. Of course, my SoRaMLB unique link. Sign up today, enter a tournament. It is that simple, everybody. Enter a weekly tournament there. Just enter one of those common tournaments. Again, the tournaments are locked right now because there's one ongoing, but the next tournament begins May 3rd to May 5th. So especially if you guys just make sure you enter and have your lineups in there by then, you will be golden. Make sure to check out SoRaMLB today, everybody. We will be announcing the winners. 3 winners will get, in fact, 2 tickets to Mets games for whatever game they want to go to this season. And the number 1 winner will get a $100 credit, so that way they can utilize the $100 to build their team however which way they want to there in SoRaMLB by buying cards on the marketplace. Check them out today. To everyone that has went out of their way to already play SoRaMLB, as they've been an awesome sponsor on the channel this past calendar year. Thank you all so much in advance for that. And again, if you haven't already, make sure to check them out today. But let's get more back into breaking down the ballgame, folks, because I want to look at the heading here as we look now through Baseball Savant, which of course gives you all the important information. We see here Tyrone Taylor, who started today in leadoff that we saw. Again, 1 for 4 today, 275 average, 707 OPS on the year. Starling Marte's first game back from the bereavement list, 0 for 4 with a 278 average and a 742 OPS. Happy to have star-studded Starling back in the lineup. Lindor, of course, was 0 for 1 when he was in there, 195 average, 634 OPS. Joey Wendell 0 for 3. There is nothing that Joey Wendell positively provides to this team. It's a matter of when, not if, he will be off the roster this season. 222 average and 509 OPS on the season. Pete Alonso 1 for 3 today with the double that we saw there, and pardon me, not the double, I'm sorry, that's JD Martinez. Pete Alonso was 0 for 3 today that we saw, but had the hit by pitch in the 9th, and with all the controversy ensuing there at home to end the ball game. 228 average now for Alonso, 786 OPS. He has been slumping significantly over the past stretch of games, and that is not a good thing, especially when you have JD Martinez, who is providing offense. We just need these guys to be locked in on all full cylinders together. Until then, the Mets are going to have unbelievable amount of issues with their offense, and they need to make sure that they don't dig themselves too deep of a hole where they can't climb out of. Thankfully, they were able to climb out of that 0-5 hole. Now we're at 500. I know it's early. You're going to bounce up and down and fluctuate between being a 500 team, a little above, a little below. But these are the kind of games that are just inexcusable to lose for the Mets. Because Shota Imanaga, while he was fantastic, the Mets still had opportunities in this ballgame. They still had opportunities where runners in scoring position, and they had nothing to show for it, which again makes that call to end the game that much more frustrating with everything wrapped up as a whole. JD Martinez 1 for 3 with the double that we saw, 300 average, 733 OPS on the season for JDM. Jeb McNeil there, 2 for 4 with a 257 average and a 683 OPS. And then we see there Harrison Bader 0 for 2 today, 271 average, 624 OPS. Brandon Nimmo came in later in the game as a pitcher and then played the outfield, 0 for 1 today. Brett Beatty 1 for 3. Beatty had some really nice at-bats. I would just like to share that. And there's one positive take out of this offensively. It was, in fact, Brett Beatty, to say the least. Brett Beatty, really, really nice single 98-mile-per-hour barrel there to right. Beatty 1 for 3 with a 258 average and a 635 OPS. Tomas Nido 0 for 2 today, called a great game for not only Jose Buto, but this entire pitching staff. That's why we love Tomas Nido when Alvarez is out of the picture right now. And even when Alvarez is back, I would still prefer Nito because of his defense. 211 average and a 671 OPS. DJ Stewart came in later on in the game, got a key walk. Great at bat there by DJ Stewart. And that's really impressed me. DJ with a 208 average and an 858 OPS on the season. DJ Stewart, what I've loved so much about his game, and I've said this in previous shows, is not only his ability, to really locate pitches well. His eye at the plate is much better than I initially perceived it to be. But a bigger thing is DJ Stewart's ability to command the walks the way he is. He's our little Kyle Schwarber, everybody. He's our little Walmart Kyle Schwarber, and I'm also not complaining at the moment with the way that he has been swinging the bat, taking his pitches, and getting on base. A lot to like there for sure. So very happy with DJ Stewart's overall production, but not happy with the Mets' lack of overall offensive production and another shit show, anemic offensive outing, everybody. I did see someone tag me in something. Bear with me, just checking on Twitter at the moment. An MLB statement from Replay Center that we discussed, of course, earlier on. After reviewing all relevant angles, the replay official definitively determined that no violation of the home plate collision rule occurred. Bullshit. Don't care. The catcher's initial setup was legal and he moved into the lane. Reaction to the call is confirmed as it is not a violation. Additionally, the replay official could not definitively determine that the runner contacted home plate prior to catch applying the tag. The call stands and the runner is out. Here's what I will say about something like this. This is not a call which dictates the end of said ball game. I feel very confident in saying that this probably gets overturned. Just absolutely ridiculous. Imagine issuing a statement before the season that says a specific type of play is illegal and then going against the ruling and doubling down on it a month later into the season. It is ridiculous. That comes from Michael Mayer, who we absolutely love on the channel, does a great job as an independent beat reporter, big Mets fan, and he's 100% right. We have heard about this. We know the do's and don'ts already when it comes to blocking the bag. Tell me how that is not what happened here with this one. Just an absolutely brutal and ridiculous call. The first image in the memo, it states the foot on the foul line or home plate. Just absurd. I'm sorry. I'm not going to condone this whatsoever. It's very frustrating. It's almost like you need to make sure you have all angles. And even as they call that, I'm not buying it 1 second. I'm really not. And this is again, not for the Cubs fans to victory lap right now. I'm not, again, Pete's face said it all there that we have in the highlights. It's the frustration level with how the game went, with the way the Mets have been playing with their lack of offense. And now you end the game on this note. Need I say more? This is why all of us Mets fans, including myself, are beyond fed up with losing a game in the fashion in which the way that the Mets did tonight, guys. Let's see. I'd be damned if I went on a Cubs YouTube channel after a Mets win. Giovanni's saying it how it is. Cubs don't have YouTubers. That's the thing. There is no Cubs YouTuber that does at all what I do, at least from what I've seen. Now, granted, I don't go out of my way for looking for Cubs coverage, but I've not seen anything. Because when I think of Cubs coverage, I literally think of just Ian Happ's compound podcast that he has with Zach Short, the former Cub and now former Met now, and one other guy in there, part of the John Boy Media Network. I'm either worried from Braves. Exactly. We even got Braves fans agreeing with us. When you got Braves fans agreeing with Mets fans in the chat about a loss and the way they lost tonight, what else is there to say? I mean, like, seriously, there literally is nothing else to say, everybody. And this was, again, a brutal, very frustrating loss and something that's going to be a bitter pill to swallow. So now the Mets need to make sure that they can at least salvage the series and getting split tomorrow. If they lose tomorrow, that is then losing 3 out of 4 games. That's losing 2. That's losing 8 games out of your past 10. Just a lot of no-nos going on here in Metsland, everybody. But that is going to wrap up the live show for me. I'm not going to be terribly long-winded with this one because we got an early day game tomorrow around 1:10 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you guys are on the lookout for that one. I will hopefully be live right after the conclusion of tomorrow's game. However, I will be in attendance, guys. Your boy's going to Philly. We're going to take down those Sixers, hopefully win in 6. Yes, your boy's a Knicks fan. Whether you love it or hate it, I'm dying to go there. I don't live terribly far from Philly. I reside in Pennsylvania. I will be at tomorrow's Game 6, absolutely screaming my head off in the nosebleeds, probably getting in arguments with Philly fans that is either justified or not. We'll see how it happens. The Sixers are going out of their way. They bought 2,000 tickets to ensure Sixers fans get them because their fans won't even show up for these games the way that the diehard and more passionate fan base and the Knicks fans have certainly done that. We saw there as they took over Wells Fargo Center there in Game 4. Hopefully they do the same, including myself there tomorrow for Game 6. So massive Knicks game tomorrow. Game 6. Let's conclude it. JB back in the house. They're at home. He's a Nova boy, guys. One of the main reasons why Jalen Brunson is not a Sixer is because of his daddy being a coach on the Knicks. Thank God he's a coach on the Knicks, because if he was a coach elsewhere, solid chance Jalen Brunson is already a 76er in his career. Again, grew up in that area. That's why he's a Nova boy. Dante, Josh Hart, Nova boys as well. They know that place all too well. They balled out there plenty. I'm damn excited for that matchup. So Knicks fans, rise up with me. Big Game 6 tomorrow. Hope to see many amazing Mets fans and Knicks fans there in that key matchup. But guys, be on the lookout. Post-game coverage should still happen tomorrow. Might just be on the laptop, so the setup might be slightly different, though. That's going to do it for the show, though. The Mets lose this one in heartbreaking and truly controversial fashion by a final score of 1-0, and they look again to get back in the win column tomorrow and salvage their series against the Cubbies. That's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching again live on a replay. For my replay viewers, make sure to let me know down below how you feel after a controversial loss like this one. Until then, have a great rest of your night, day, evening, and again,